This young man hails from San Diego, California. I admire him as a father. I admire him as just a leader. And I admire him because he's got a big organization. I admire his trainings and his teachings. Every second Saturday of the month, every month this year, he'll be doing a special training for us and also break down the marketing plan. And last week was another phenomenal week, the blueprint. So without further ado, from San Diego, California, we'll give him all the time he needs. Without further ado, the great, the one and only, Mr. Julian Lewis.
Before I get started, I just want to let you know, Mr. Thomas, it's funny. I'm going to be in the airport here in a couple of hours, and I was thinking, if I had to be there early, I would make sure I would get the call done no matter what. And some of you guys may know, some of you don't. Sometimes when I'm traveling, you don't know, but I record it, and I even speak to the morning, so you think it's me right now, but it's just what leaders do. It's something that I see Mr. Thomas do on a regular basis. I'll coordinate on back channels with Jabri, so that way we can always make it happen, because that's what leaders do. So thank you for being the example, Mr. Thomas. Thank you for always doing what you do, and also showing us that we can go out and build and live and enjoy the lifestyle that we're creating, not just continue to put our heads down, but also take time to enjoy it while we're building as well. So thank you, sir. And everyone else, I'm pretty excited for this morning. I want to talk about some of the things that happen when you're successful, or when you apply the success, or you apply the skills that we learn in this business. Because I was talking to my friend, Mr. Brian Baker, and those of you that know, we're pretty good friends as well. And I sent him a message of some things that have been happening in my life. And I'm going to be heading out somewhere today where I can't really talk about it until it announces, because I had to sign an NDA. So for those of you that know what that is, I'm very excited about what's taking place. And there's going to be some photo shoot. There's going to be some all kinds of stuff happening, but I can't really talk about for who or for what, because there's an NDA. But I will tell you this: there have been a lot of blessings that have been happening in my life recently, inside ACN, outside of ACN, in my personal life, in other areas in my life. And I started thinking about it. And I started thinking about the people in my life that are extremely successful. Some of those that were in the business with me years ago, some that I personally mentored. And Mr. Thomas, what I realize is this. What I realize is, Jen Olson, closing out regional coordinator. That's pretty dope. So I just had to give you a shout out because I saw you in the chat. But for those of you that don't know, there's a book that Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki did years ago. This is way before Trump got into politics, and he was just focused on business. And they started talking, and they put a book together, and they were talking about why they wanted you to be rich. That's the book, Why We Want You to Be Rich. And in that book, Robert Kiyosaki talks about something. He talks about how he believes that network marketing is the best boot camp to be successful, period. Network marketing is the best boot camp to be successful, period. All right. And I want you to think about ACN and what it does and how it pours into other areas in your life. For those of you that are leaders or you're successful, you know where I'm going with this. If it wasn't for ACN, I know that I wouldn't be the type of father that I am to my daughter. You're going to be like, wow, that doesn't make sense. ACN's a business. I'm going to keep going. If it wasn't for ACN, I wouldn't be in the type of shape that I am today. If it wasn't for ACN, I don't think I would have been able to deal with depression in a certain period of time in my life when I was in this company. If it wasn't for ACN, I don't know if I would have handled defeat or betrayal from people I was loyal to that were a part of this company. If it wasn't for ACN, I don't think I'd be the man that I am today. And I'm saying that because people think this is a thing that you do. What it is, it's a person you become, and you attract the wealth, the success, the relationships because of who you're being, not what you're doing. See, a lot of people don't understand. You know, there's this thing in our culture nowadays, and Nicole, I see Woods, I see you on the call, so you'll know this because I know they're doing it out in the Midwest too. People are going, they're doing this. They're chasing the bag. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but there's this big thing in the culture now where people are like, I'm going for the bag. I'm chasing the bag. And if you're confused, the bag is just money. All right. And what I realize is when you chase the bag, you miss the point. See, when you become better, then the money is attracted to you. Well, how does that even work? Well, because when you become better, you realize that you're worth it, and your behaviors change because your identity shifts. And when your behaviors are associated with who you believe yourself to be as an amazing person, there's something that doesn't allow you to do things that hurt you anymore. It's called respect. Self-respect. When you respect yourself, you don't put yourself in certain situations. When you respect yourself, you believe you deserve more, so you'll talk to that person that's on your chicken list, because the only thing different between you and them is that they don't have residual income through ACN yet. You realize that you see things different. You see things from an opportunity filter versus a discouragement. You say, I'm not there yet. See, what most people say in the world is, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. I'm not there. Instead of that, you want to add 3 letters on the end of that, which is yet. I don't know how to do that yet. I'm not an SVP yet. I'm not the greatest yet. Because what it really focuses on is that your journey isn't complete. See, when you decide that it's over, then your brain doesn't focus on it anymore. So you are already defeated because you cut off the idea of the opportunity resulting for yourself. Now, I'm talking about all this stuff because these are all things that I learned in ACN. Now, you might have said, well, how are you a better father because of ACN? Well, ACN allowed me to join when I was working 80 to 90 hours a week as a senior systems engineer. They didn't question whether I do the work or not. They said, we'll give you the chance, even though you're very busy. We created a support system. And I just tried to muscle through, guys. And I realized that I wasn't at a level where I needed to be able to muscle through. And so I started consuming. I got really addicted and hungry. And I started consuming something that I hadn't experienced before ACN. It's called personal development. I had a hunger for it because I heard the people that were the most successful, they consume personal development. And so I didn't know what it was, but I knew I wanted to be where they were at. I didn't want to be like them, but I wanted to position myself and my family to be successful and financially free. And what they all had in common was that they consumed personal development more than the majority of the country. I started to look at other leaders, and I saw that leaders outside of ACN that were extremely successful, they could always ramble off the top 5 books that changed their life. And other people that didn't understand success were probably reading Twilight or fun books, or hadn't read any books since they graduated from college or high school. And so I saw the differences, and the differences weren't the fact that those leaders that were successful were special. The differences were small. They were doing little daily things that the majority of the country wasn't doing. And I said, I had time for that, as busy as I was. And so I started to read the things that they were reading. I started to watch the things that they were watching. I had Jim Rohn. This is how long ago this was. I had Jim Rohn on a CD on CDs that I played over and over again in my first year in network marketing. And not only could I repeat every single one of those, but I could even sound like Jim Rohn in his cadence and his tonality, because I realized that the weird parts of his tone created an impact, and he was brilliant to be able to weave in that tone change with what he was saying, so that when you heard it, it stayed with you for the rest of the week. See, these are things that I started to pick up. I started to see how a James Adlam could shift your whole entire thinking because of the ups and downs and the pitches of his conversation and the pauses, which I learned later were called pregnant pauses. I started to realize that if I wanted to affect change in my life, I had to become a better, more effective communicator. It wasn't just about sounding articulate, but I had to figure out a way to, like Mr. Tony Kupis said, get my words to be at a level to where a third grader could understand without being condescending to an adult. I had to have courage. I had to step out of my comfort zone because I was used to doing what I was used to doing. And adults don't even realize that the reason why we're so afraid to do ACN, and a lot of times, is because whatever you do for your job, you've been doing for so long that it's been so long that you've had to do something new. So you don't even know if you can do something new anymore. Things that came easy to us when we were kids, all of a sudden are frightening because we traded in the excitement of learning something new for the fear of what it'll look like to other people we don't even know if we fail. We traded in the ability to experience life in brilliant colors for a boring life of mediocrity, because if we just played it safe, if we just stayed in our lane, if we just don't stand out, then maybe we won't be noticed, and maybe we won't have to take responsibility. And even though we won't get to a high level, we can have our peace, privacy, and we can be just like everyone else. See, people don't understand why everyone else looks so awesome to most people. It's this one word called belonging. And a lot of times we'll trade greatness for belonging because we would rather be with people who appreciate us because we have similar values than to stand out, be great, and be the first leader to show everyone else that they can do it too. Guys, these are things that I learned, and today I just wanted to freestyle because, to be completely honest, I really couldn't see who I was going to become until I had the courage to do something new. And I look at my daughter all the time, and I tease her and I say, you know, baby, the man I am today is because of you. And she's starting to understand it a little bit more, but she didn't understand it back then. And it's because I can tell you, I don't know if I would have been so brave as to do ACN as busy as I was if I didn't know when I was able to be in the delivery room and I saw her come into this world, and it was instant love. And all I could think about is figuring out how I could be there for her, how I could support her and guide her, and not make the way the world set up the world an excuse for why I'm not home. See, I think it's funny how we believe that rules are permanent, that laws are right, and that the way it is will always be the way it is. I think it's funny because, see, us as adults, we don't realize it, but we're following rules from adults that were just as imperfect as you and I, that were children once that didn't know anything about a world, that were delivered into a world that was described to them by people before them. And so we start to believe that all of these things are permanent. You can't do this because they don't let you do things like that in the United States. They don't let you do things like that in the world. Who's they? I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but a lot of the rules and regulations that keep you confined within your own mind are just outlines or concepts that were created by flesh and blood human beings that look like you and me, and the only difference is they came before us. And so, because we're used to following authority and we're used to asking our parents how to do things, we start to believe that that's the way and that's the way, but the way isn't the way until you decide it is. And I know I might be losing a few people, but if I can get one person to understand where I'm coming from right now, maybe it can alter, just shift a little bit of how you think so you can decide to create the world that you want to live in. See, I'm not really trying to get into, God right now or the Bible or anything like that, but I realized a long time ago, if my God was a creator and he created us in his image, then wouldn't that make us creators of our own reality every single day? Wouldn't that be the reason why God would give you free will and the ability to create so that you can dictate what you create every single day? But then we fall victim to someone else's creation when we decide not to create our own reality. When we decide to embrace values that don't align with the core of our morality. When we decide to do things that we don't want to do because everyone says you need to do those things. See, I remember being in high school. You guys got to go back to when you're children, because the adult you may not get this conversation, but the child you is screaming inside right now. I remember being in high school and everyone around me was excited to go to college. They were excited to be what they were going to be when they were an adult. And so I talked to my father, and my father, I said, Dad, I don't understand. Like, why are they so excited? He said, Julian, you get to pick what you want to do. And I said, okay, but what does that mean? What should I do? He said, pick something you love, because you'll be probably doing it for the rest of your life. And you guys, he thought he was exciting me, but he wasn't. In that moment, it sounded like a prison sentence. He said, Julian, pick what you love to do, because you're going to be doing it for the rest of your life. And it echoed. It was like life, 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 life. Guys, I was freaked out. I said, okay, so now I'm 16 going on 17, and I'm supposed to pick what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And my life has only been 16 years. And so how was I supposed to do that within a couple of weeks and send out packets to every single college that I had never heard of until I was supposed to send those things out? And pick a major 2 years later, if I was undecided, don't worry, you can just spend the money, a mortgage-like bill, not knowing what you want. And 2 years later, you could figure it out when you identify the type of degree you want. All of that sounded insane. All of it sounded like a mob believing something that was silly, and no one ever decided to ask questions. And so you know what I did? I followed suit. I said, you know what? Well, I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life, but I know that I want to live a comfortable one. And so back in 1996, 97, I looked at a list on paper of things that I could do that would make a decent amount of money. And I saw attorney was up there, and I saw computer engineer, systems engineer was up there, and they were earning about the same amount. And I said, well, I don't like to argue, and I'm good with technology, so let me go in this direction. And I'm so grateful every single day that I did, because going in that direction allowed me to get shackles on my ankles, on my ankle, in the form of a BlackBerry. If you guys know what that is, it's an old phone that IT people used to use. And out of college, I got golden handcuffs because I got a salary of $115,000 a year as a senior systems engineer. And as a young kid, I didn't know what that meant. What it meant was I was going to be working 80 to 90 hours a week because I didn't get paid per hour. So they were going to milk as much time out of me as they could for the amount of salary that they were going to pay me. And I was taking 50 to 60 flights a year. And everyone was telling me, again, it felt like I was in high school and I was confused by what the elders were telling me. Everyone was saying, great job, you're doing amazing. You're doing incredible. Man, someone at your age making that much money, man, you hit it big time. Saying things like, could you talk to my son? He's in high school now. Could you talk to him because you're doing so well? And I felt like an imposter. And here's why. Because I didn't feel like I was doing well. I was never around my family. I was never around my loved ones. I was never in my city. I couldn't dictate what I wanted to do despite making that income because I was always working. And it was so negative and it was so bad that we used to make jokes about it and say, we can save up all this money because we're working so much, we don't have time to spend it. That was actually a joke. Until my fiance and I found out we were going to have a baby girl. And she helped to break the chain. She helped to give me the courage to say, it's enough. I don't want my daughter believing a lie just because everyone is conveniently telling it. I don't want her to have to try to break away from a lie after she's been conditioned for years and make it so difficult that she might not do so. I want to be able to shape her understanding that even if the group is saying something, they could be wrong, and that she has to be able to discern and go with her gut. And I couldn't do any of those things working 80 to 90 hours a week at someone's job. And it was scary, guys. But personal development changed that. It allowed me to pour into my daughter in a way that I didn't know. Learning systems, being consistent. Repetition is the mother of learning. Being able to have the courage to go out and do something I've never done to get something I never got. All of these conversations and all of these ways of thinking that were poured into me over the years. It allowed my cup to overflow. And it spilled over into the people that I was around the most. Seeing my daughter, how she's able to interact with her grandparents. Sometimes my brother and I look at each other amazed, because at her age, we wouldn't have had the maturity to handle those situations the way she did. I hope you're getting this. Even opportunities outside of ACN come to me because of who I become within ACN. Seeing her fall in love with art and not having to choose because she has a parent that's always been, her parents have always been there and seen what she loved and decided to encourage versus discourage for something realistic. Through my personal development journey, I learned that being realistic is the most commonly traveled road to mediocrity. So why would I teach my daughter to be realistic when that's a direct path to being mediocre? When anyone that's done anything great had a dream and they had the courage to see that dream through, even though other people that were the play it safe crowd were telling them not to. You know, for the first time, you guys can go to my Instagram or my Facebook, and you can see art that my daughter created. She created a portrait of her mother that she drew in song lyrics. If that sounds crazy to you, it is. You should go see it. We posted it up. Her mom posted it up on her social media. I posted up on mine. We were just proud because she's always doing something creative like that. Her mom cried when she gave it to her. And then we had someone who a company, an owner of a company that deals in fine art, decided they wanted to purchase it. And they bought her art. They bought guys, they bought the picture. And I'm talking to my daughter, and she said, Daddy, it's kind of cool that they bought it. Mommy says I can make this a business. And I said, you know what's so great? You don't even have to make it a business, baby. I said, you do it because you love to do it. You can create a collection, and you can sell it if you want to or not. That's your choice. Because the last thing I would want you to do is to fall out of love with something you love because you're forced to do it every single day. And that's something I learned when I was your age. And I wish somebody would have told me that. It came full circle just a week ago when I was able to share with her at 16 reassurance that she didn't just have to pick something she would do for the rest of her life. Because I didn't hear that at 16 when I was thinking about mine. All of it, everything, who I am, the love that I have for myself, the discovery, the ability to go through therapy and coaching and everything to become a better person. All of it was on the path through this business. And so I just wanted to share that because oftentimes we talk about residual income, we talk about the money, we talk about the, all of that, cell phones, internet. I get it, but I'm not on this planet for cell phones. I'm not on this planet for internet. I'm on this planet to experience. A lot of times we forget who we were as children. Most of us, the moment we could figure out how to crawl and walk and run, we were doing it. Why though? Why were we doing it? Because the faster we could get these bodies moving, the faster we could do one thing: experience. You're here to experience. You're here to experience, and through your purpose, be a blessing to others. I believe that God made us unlimited potential for a reason. Through our journeys, when other people start to believe it's not possible, if we stay on our journey, on our purpose, continue to experience, continue to grow, we give others permission to do the same. And so, yeah, I've been blessed to be able to be full-time for years, but I've never been the type of IBO that completely listened to everything that everyone said. I joined ACN so that I could have time for my daughter. I created that possibility, and we had the time. Until she was 5 years old, I was chilling. And then we got back to work. And you can do this in sprints. You can do this in blitzes. You can do this in a marathon. It's completely up to you. But one thing I can tell you is this: you won't know what you really want to do with this business until you start loving yourself, knowing who you really are, and opting to make who you are and what you want more important than how other people think about what you're doing. That's true freedom. The residual is just icing on the cake. So with that, Mr. Thomas, I see you out there tanning. I'm gonna pass it back to you, sir.